Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. My name is Lee Binkley and today we're going to be covering the data validation tool in Microsoft Excel. More specifically for this example, how to create a drop-down list if you're assigning owners to a task for a project or the priority level for a given task on a project. As we can see here, we have just a simple table kind of listing some sample projects and tasks, as well as a few individuals from, say, an organization already assigned to a couple of these tasks. So let's say for this example that we want to go ahead and select individuals and go ahead and assign the rest of these tasks from E to P based on these 4 individuals that are already assigned to these tasks. So the first thing we'll want to do is determine what section of this table or area of our worksheet here that we want to have the ability to select individuals from a drop-down list. So with this being, we'll just go ahead and select from cells C2 down to C17 to the end of our table here. We will then navigate to the Data tab in our ribbon, and then select this icon here for data validation. And then once we click that, it will then pop up the data validation box where we can begin determining the settings, the input message, and the error alert. We will now begin building our drop-down list from the data validation tool. The first step being in the allow drop-down, we will go ahead and select list. Now for source, it'll ask what type of data we would like to have present in our list. Since we already have a few names of individuals in an organization already listed within our table, we'll go ahead and select these 4 names, these 4 cells, as our 4 options within the list to be present in the cells that we previously selected. For input message, say for example in your organization you may be collaborating with individuals outside of this team, outside of the spreadsheet, or could be any individual within your organization, and maybe you want to define each of these selections as you create them. So for this example, we're assigning task owners to different tasks for projects. So maybe we want to go ahead and define that as they select the cells within this worksheet. So for title, we'll simply just put task owner, who is completing the task, assigning the task, or coordinating the task. And then input message could be specific to what you're looking to define. And for this example, we'll just go ahead and say that who is completing this task is going to be the example. Error alert is if a user would input any invalid data. Typically, it's not something that you would run into often, but it is present if you'd like to kind of determine and define any error message that comes along the way. And then once we have this information entered, we'll go ahead and click OK. And as we can see, the information that we entered has been applied to the selection of cells. So if you come to each of these selected cells, to the right of the cell will be this little drop-down icon, little button arrow. And then we can select the names of the individuals that we already had listed in our table. So we can begin assigning these tasks to individuals from our organization. And as we can see here, our input message is displayed. So if you want to define, this selection of cells as we're assigning individuals to tasks, it will give a little bit more direction as these get assigned out within your organization. Now we would simply just want to go through our owners and begin assigning individuals to these tasks for these projects. Of course, it would be specific to your example and your organization, but we would simply just go through and begin assigning individuals to these tasks. Now, if the input message for your data validation is in the way, as it is for this next portion of this tutorial, you would simply just want to click on the message and drag it to a place where it's out of the way, out of sight, and out of mind. Say we would like to determine the priority level of a task for a project, what the urgency of a task for a project could be. So we will simply want to repeat the steps as previously laid out in this tutorial. We will select the cells within our worksheet that we want to have our drop-down list present. So for this example, we have our priority column. You can select an entire column by clicking on the letter of the column, but for this sake, we're just going to go ahead and select the cells within the priority column here. We will then go to the Data tab in our ribbon, and then select the Data Validation button under Data Tools. And then under Settings, for Allow, we will go ahead and click List again. And then for source, say for example, we don't have our options of our drop-down list already listed in our worksheet, we can enter text here for what we want to have present within our list. So one priority could be high. We have a high priority. We will separate our options by a comma and then space, and then the next level of priority. So we will do medium, comma, space to separate our options, and then say our last option would be low for priority. We're not going to worry about input message or error alert for this example, but we'll go ahead and click OK. And as we can see, if we click on this cell, our options for our drop-down list will be present within each of these cells as we click the arrow button below each option. So we can then begin selecting the priority level for each of these tasks and what the urgency of each of these tasks would be. At this point, we could take this tutorial and even bump it up a level and say we want to label the priority levels, high as red, medium as orange or yellow, and then low as green, and begin creating a heat map for our different tasks for these projects. What is more urgent, what is less urgent, lower priority. So we will then select either the column or the set of ranges where we'd like to insert our conditional formatting. So for this example, we will go ahead and select just this row of cells within our priority column. We will then navigate to the Home tab in our ribbon, and then click on the conditional formatting icon under Styles. Once that's selected, under Highlight Cells Rules, we will come down here to equal to. It will then display an option for what we want to format our cells based on what they are equal to. So say we want cells that are labeled high or contain the text high in the cells to be labeled with a light red fill and a dark red text. And then once we click OK, as we can see, any text that's labeled high, it will be formatted conditionally based on what the contents of the cell is. So as we insert new options into this column, they'll be listed as high. And we can do that, of course, for any other option within this column. Same step, conditional formatting, highlight cells rules, equal to. And then we'll do low, for example. And say for low, we want to have a green fill with dark green text because it's not as urgent, so we can kind of get by a few weeks without worrying about this task for the time being. And then we'll click OK. And same as high, as we have low selected, anything that's labeled low for priority will be listed as green. And then we'll just really quickly repeat the final option for medium. So any cell that equals medium, and then we'll format that to equal yellow fill with dark yellow text. So anything that's labeled as medium will have a yellow fill and a dark yellow text. So we can begin creating this essentially a heat map of what's more important, what a team should focus on at this time as we begin assigning tasks and coordinating these different projects. That concludes today's tutorial. I hope everyone watching this video learned something that they'll be able to apply for their job, for their organization, and in their professional life. This is one of my favorite features of Microsoft Excel and something that I use quite frequently. So if you did learn something today, be sure to like the video. If you aren't currently subscribed to our channel, I recommend you do so. We upload educational videos and tutorials like this every Friday at 9 a.m. So it's a great resource to learn in between classes and outside the classroom. I also recommend you visit www.tcworkshop.com. We are here to help find the training solution that best fits you or your organization. Thank you for tuning in today, and we hope to catch everyone in the next video.